Hello and welcome back, adventurers. I see that you're excited to hear of the poor folk that call the domain of Paridon their home. And as always, I'm happy to tell you their stories. It may be noted here that the term Georgian is preferred by the folk native to her shores. Paridoner, so widely used in the core, is technically accurate but mildly offensive. It callously disregards the centuries of island's existence before the Great Upheaval. Georgian is not only a reminder of the nation that were, but of what people hope once more to be. Georgians are sober people, the foggy streets of their city reflecting their demeanor. At one time they enjoyed food, drink, song and dance with lusty enthusiasm, but their manner in recent times is noticeably dry and detached. Although violent criminals terrorize them, Georgians remain perpetually stalwart. They are not easily discouraged and are possessed of remarkable tenacity and ingenuity. The class divide is deep and ironclad. The wealthy never associate with commoners who are expected to mind their place and treat the nobles with respect and deference. Interestingly, there is one item which Georgian society is united in wearing. Rich or poor, male or female, hats. No adult, save in South Shore, goes without one. Standing in a crowd, one can easily identify any outsiders present by their bared heads. The nobles are the richest men in the city, due not only to long-established businesses, but their ownership of nearly all remaining land. A fixed network of old money and 2 centuries of tradition nurture their conceit of superiority. They see nothing wrong in importing cream and strawberries for a wedding, while the general populace ails from malnutrition. Their children dabble in the arts and university studies, whilst the family patriarch meets with advisors who tend his properties and businesses, signing the requisite paperwork before returning to his own diversions, relying on his more ambitious peers to rule the city council in his favor. The middle class has seen incredible growth in numbers since the 40s, as well as an increase in wealth and status. Theirs are the new businesses which are thriving, theirs are the knowledge and services sought abroad. They have the envy and respect of the poor, being seen to have earned their places in a highly competitive venue. The bourgeois are great proponents of the work ethic, having attained their status by constant effort. Moving freely through the city, they are courteous to nobles, but hardly reverent. Most are also astonishingly civil to their inferiors. Quick to mentor their needy via lodges or workplace, they recognize ingenuity in talent and are willing to foster it to their advantage. Any setbacks suffered by the class are generally only complained of in private. More often they will take action to correct them. As they struggle to improve their lot, some follow a tried-and-true tactic of marrying into respectability. Others, however, are content to put their mercantile profits to work and buy off council candidates whose stance supports their self-interest. This is not only common, but remarkably effective. The lower class is the most populous, as in all the lands. Their incomes are quickly swallowed up by the costs of daily living. These are the manual laborers and beat patrolmen, street vendors and domestic servants, all putting in long hours at their places of employment. Those who have not succumbed to addictions return to their cramped quarters to spend the last few minutes of each day with their kids. They take their youth to the temple to meet the lodge members or attend seminars, hoping it will provide a fruitful contact or direction for a future vacation. On their days off, the common folk tend to communal gardens, savoring a rare opportunity to be outdoors. The elderly reminisce about the meadows and fields of old Georgia, where they used to toil. Their children are brought up to believe that the nobility are not better than them, just luckier. The unsaid truth is, of course, that the vast majority of the poor will never rise, due to the fierce competition from their fellows. Many fall prey to apathy and frustration, and turn to domestic violence or addiction to deal with their sense of failure. They incur too many debts or break the law, dragging their families still further down. Even when they live a clean life, many fall prey to disease. While direct death from starvation is rare now, but malnutrition is a silent plague, favoring the contagious which bring down many of this class. Although they worship no gods, many Paridoners, especially aristocrats, subscribe to a theological philosophy known as the Divinity of Mankind, held to be far more civilized than a belief in anthropomorphic supernatural beings. This philosophy states that humanity alone among sentient races is near divine and should do all to achieve perfection, physical, mental, and emotional. Celebrants, however, study gods as symbols, principles, or evolved souls. Divinity is a state of being, a stage of growth attainable to humanity. The human soul is a doorway to divinity. In order to attain such divinity, the individual must discipline their body, mind, and heart and achieve an inner balance between the three. Moderation, not asceticism, is the key to success. Moderation involves the exercise of all three faculties. The Divinity of Mankind maintains its monopolistic hold on Eurasian faith, largely because of the flexibility of its beliefs and practices. There are three traditions: monaistic, clerical, and alchemical, and together they form the triangle of perfection. They are considered interdependent and co-equal, and are illustrated with primary colors to emphasize this point. These traditions are known as the apex of intellect, alchemical, yellow, the apex of intuition, for clerical blue, and the apex of experience, as a monaistic red. There is one prerequisite for acceptance into the apex of experience: memories of a previous incarnation. The man who can remember his past lives is the man who is awaking to his true divine nature and taking the first conscious steps to immortality. When a monk has recalled 10 lives, he is acknowledged as an elder. He puts aside his birth name and adopts one reflective of the divine soul. The leader of the church is called brother man and always chosen among the elders. Monks practice a walking meditation where they go alone in the streets, contemplating the nature of a man in action. Novices and low-ranking monks wear their monastic garments to identify them and guard them from harassment, while elders wear nondescript clothing, losing themselves in the anonymity of humanity. The monk's path is focused on the spiritual evolution and the retrieval of past incarnations to achieve it. The goal is to make the body a temple of divine form in the flesh, the soul its altar. There is only one room in the temple dedicated solely to the monks, and this is the Hall of Memory. The hall is equipped with magical words to prevent eavesdropping and scrying. Many monks gather here for the times of meditation. They also record their records of memories of former incarnations here. These writings are contained in a vault, magically concealed within the hall. The apex of intuition requirements for acceptance to the clergy are a history of regular temple attendance, a reference by a celebrant, and the extensive year-long course. The celebrants are suspicious of sudden conversions. Zeal is not a virtue, but a sign of imbalance. The clerical tradition is the most favored by the lower class. This may explain why this tradition provides the most celebrants, is the most popular, and is the most focused on charitable programs. The cleric faces the gathering and reads the day's inspiration in a measured tone. This can be a mantra, a sacred poem, or a passage. This reading is never longer than 1 minute. This is followed by 15 minutes of silent meditation. Emphasis is placed on service, not promotion of self. Clerics are drawn to the divinity of mankind by a desire to aid their fellows. Clerics focus on collective humanity, seeing their individual growth as interdependent with their fellows. The apex of intellect is very popular with the city's intelligent. There are many sects identify themselves as lodges, although the majority of them have no set addresses, meeting in whichever room is available at the temple. Many an ambitious youth has gained a benefactor or scholarship via those groups. Lodges meet once a week in the evening. They present public lectures and workshops, which are the recruiting ground for the lodges. Each lodge has private requirements, but the most obvious reasons to attend one is simple personal preference. Novices must attend the rites regularly for a year and complete prescribed activities and assignments. If they are judged sincere, they are initiated with the secret ceremonies, ritual tools, colorful robes, and mystical names. To laymen or celebrants, they are known as alchemists. The alchemist has a regimen of daily exercises and meditations, measured in achievable states of progress, and the recognition of this achievement by a new rank in the lodge. These ranks mean nothing in the mundane world, but the lodge provides a spiritual release where the Eurasian can exercise ambitious urges, a temptation few can resist. There were no holidays in celebrants' calendar until 741 BC. Memorial Day is the anniversary of the great upheaval's destruction of Eurasia, July 3rd, 740. On this day, businesses and stores close and the city grows noticeably quieter. The hour-long noon rites are held in the streets due to the overwhelming attendance, followed by a procession towards the nearest city gates. Songs are sung with intimate silence for reflection, and flowers or ribbons are laid at the gates. Another annual event is on New Year's Day. It is not a holy day, indeed it might be better known as an open day. The traditions display their various gifts and skills in order to remind their fellows of their abilities inherent within the human race. Lodges present public ceremonies and lectures on various topics. Clerics offer free healing, lead meditations, and recruit volunteers for their charitable programs. Monks display their physical skills and release stories about Eurasian history based on past lives. The governance of Paridon is firmly in the hands of aristocracy, who chafe at the notion of sharing power with the unwashed masses. Male nobles elect a city council of 9 from among their ranks every 5 years. The council is responsible for administrating most aspects of life in Paridon, including collecting taxes, adjusting disputes, overseeing the city watch, and organizing programs for urban farming and public health. The council watches out for the interests of the nobles first and foremost, considering the welfare of the commoners only when it reinforces their image. The Paridon City Guard is generally seen as beneficial. The police avoid excessive force during arrests, jail cells are relatively clean, and the processing of prisoners swift. The public, aware of how dangerous the streets are, know that the guards are their only line of public defense. The police force, however, is widely rumored to be deeply infiltrated by the doppelgangers. Consequently, their ranks as a body are highly demoralized, and there are constant recruiting drives to boost numbers. Rooftop gardens became the scene of many thefts, and the city council, surprisingly sensitive to the numerous complaints, established the Roof Patrol. The Roof Patrol normally consists of rookies and elderly policemen and has earned the nickname the Green Onions. They walk above the city, protecting the gardens, but also spy on the streets below. From this angle, criminals are not as easily hidden by the crowds, and the patrol will often call their colleagues' attention to a crime in progress or shout out directions for suspect movements. Rather than trying to collect income taxes from a poor population, taxes are collected via merchants and landlords. Food prices include a municipal tax, as do medicines, clothing, and rents. Luxury taxes are imposed on items such as exotic spices, imported fresh produce, printed pages, safe school books or religious text, and musical instruments. Beyond that, there are tariffs, property taxes, and similar devices to extract money in a civilized manner. Paridon is rightly renowned for its legal system. All citizens are granted the right to a lawyer, and the burden of proof rests upon the prosecution to find the accused guilty, not on the accused to prove oneself innocent. Civic law and minor criminal cases are decided by judges. Serious crimes are presented to a jury, with the judge obliged to inform the citizens on the exact definition of the involved laws. Since Paridon has no arable land beyond the city proper, starvation is a serious concern. Although contact with other domains has fortunately increased in recent years, allowing Paridon to purchase foodstuffs, the city is still woefully underfed. Most merchants who arrive in Paridon bring raw materials, which in turn are used in handcrafts and that are sold in the distant domains. Gradually, other realms have also discovered that Paridon is one of the most modern cities in Ravenloft. Accordingly, interest in Paridon's culture and scientific knowledge has grown. Another profitable venture located in Paridon is gin, also known as Mother's Ruin. Brewed locally and mixed with juniper berries, this strong alcohol is dry and unpleasant in its natural form. Eurasian Pound is honored throughout many realms, as Paridon trades with the majority of civilized nations. I believe that it has even had full-scale trade settlements set up abroad. A commonly repeated phrase in the city is that crisis is another word of opportunity. Ambition and the ability to keep rising despite every setback is considered a national virtue. Citizens believe, rightly or not, that they have a great opportunity to climb up the social and economic ladder. They point to the recent great expansion of the middle class as a proof of this assumption. Thank you so much for your time, precious listeners. Let's finish Paridon later when I talk about the history of the domain, but for now, as always, be careful while crossing the mists.